Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I want to share a real customer story with you.
The moment I walked into Alpine, I felt cared for. They pulled me into a private room, and the Alpine professional happily set up my CPAP machine, explaining everything I needed to know. The service didn't stop there. After I went home, Alpine called me a week later just to check on me. These guys really are the experts. Before Alpine, I was so stressed trying to navigate what I needed online by myself, but all the stress went away when I went to their store. They really do deserve 5 stars.
We know when you walk through our doors, you deserve to be cared for. Stop by any of our 11 locations and discover the Alpine Home Medical difference. When you need assistance, we're here for you.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
AlpineHomeMedical.com.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and there are good things in the air. You can feel it, you can see it, you can experience it. Football, the kids are back in school. It's beginning to cool off a little bit. Fall is in the air, and a great place to go this fall for the best meal you've ever had. It's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Now let's talk about going up to the mountains where the leaves are just beginning to turn. It's going to be gorgeous. And at Hotel Park City, there's a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse waiting for you. So many things are going on in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, and there's a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse downtown for you as well at 275 South West Temple. That steak that you've been longing for, cooked to perfection, the perfect temperature, the side dishes, the desserts. They're at both locations of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. So call and make your reservations now. When Dee and I ate there the other night, it was so delicious, so good. That first bite, you're going to love it at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
I had a friend text me recently, Tim, and she asked me, so my husband and I are finally thinking about doing the SOTA weight loss program, but I need you to tell me a few more things. And I said, sure. One of the things she's a runner. Even she wants to lose weight, but she's a runner. And she said, do I eat enough calories during the weight loss phase that I can keep up my running? I said, sure. I mean, they recommend exercise. I wasn't very good at exercising regularly during the time that I was losing weight, but it's not just about counting calories. This is not about that. It's about eating smarter, and they taught me how to do that.
Well, and here's the other thing. If you trim, 20 pounds, which is the average, or 30 or 40, you're going to feel more like running. You're going to feel more like doing the things that you want to get out and do, and maybe things you've been avoiding for a while. My daughter lost 42 pounds, and it has changed her life. She's now in the maintenance phase of this great program. Go and find out more about it. Go to SOTAweightloss.com. It's spelled SOTA. Just think Tim and Amanda, and remember that SOTA Weight Loss is state-of-the-art.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
Traffic on I-15 and the rest of your Valley freeways rolling along and looking good. We do have a surface street crash, 7800 south at 5300 west. Fill up your bucket list in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, along with excellent dining and shopping await you. Find out more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, cold front bringing showers and thunderstorms to the Wasatch Front today, while the snow level drops to about 8,000 feet. Today's high only 69, partly cloudy tomorrow with a continued chance of rain. Right now 63 degrees and cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
This hour, it's Let Me Speak to the Governor. Governor Spencer Cox answers questions from KSL listeners. Let Me Speak to the Governor, live from the studios of KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for Let Me Speak to the Governor. I'm Maria Shilaos, along with Utah Governor Spencer Cox. We will be taking your calls at 801-575-8255. You can text us your questions at 57500. Governor, thanks again for being here to take, answer the questions, the pressing questions that people have to ask. And I wanted to start out and talk about Senator Mitt Romney, who has announced that he's not running again. And I know that you tweeted about this and tweeted about his service, but now we're hearing that Brad Wilson may be running. Give us, first of all, your opinion on the senator's time in office, and are you going to endorse someone?
Sure. Well, I'm very grateful for Senator Romney's willingness to serve. These jobs are hard, and of course, everyone is open to criticism. And I'm always grateful for people who are willing to give up their lives, their families to serve our country and to serve our state. He did so with distinction for 6 years. I was really interested in his statement when he decided not to run, and really honestly proud of his reasoning for not running. Too many people, I think one of the problems in our country is too many people think they're so indispensable that the country can't go on without them, that they have to serve. And I like to argue that these jobs were never meant to be careers. I love the example of George Washington and his farewell address, where he decided that he said that, I know I could serve until I die. He could have been a king, but he said, no, it's time for somebody else to step up and take this on. And his willingness to say, I'm in my mid to late 70s. I don't want to be doing this into my 80s. I've got a family. I've got other things that are important. I think that's a really good example to us. And I know a lot of people, myself included, who wish the two front runners for the nominations for president would take a similar tact and say, you know what, it's time for someone else. Let's move aside and move along. It's one of the reasons that I've told people I promised I would only run for 2 terms as governor if the people will have me one more time. But even though I'm very young and there's no limits, there's no term limits in Utah, I could try to serve for 3 or 4 or 5 terms. Certainly, we've had some governors in other states do that. I just don't think that's right, and I think it's better to get some new blood in there. And so I admire that. When it comes to people running, Brad Wilson announced an exploratory committee several months ago. He's already said on social media, he's resigned from the Senate, from the House, as Speaker of the House effective November 15th. He announced that resignation this week, and the only reason he would be resigning is to run for the Senate. And so I think he's on social media. He said he has an announcement coming up next week. I suspect that's him announcing that he'll be running for Senate. I love Speaker Brad Wilson. I'm not ashamed to share that with anybody. I think he's one of the best speakers we have ever had. I don't think people realize how difficult a job is. It's probably the most difficult position in politics in the state of Utah today is Speaker of the House, because you have 75 independently elected legislators and much bigger, more than double the size of the Senate, and everybody has their opinions. And with social media and all the craziness that's out there right now, to be able to get the big things done, to be able to look forward to the future, nobody has done that better than Brad, and it's been an honor to work with him. And so I kind of have to wait for him to make his announcement, but I'm not ashamed to say that Brad Wilson is a great guy, and we'd be lucky to have someone like him as our senator. Now, there may be some others that want to run. There are a lot of rumors out there, but nobody said for sure that they're all in. So we've got some time, and we'll see. I think January now, we move from March to January is the declaration period. So people will actually sign that paperwork to say that they're running in January, and then we'll know what the field really looks like.
Okay, so is it safe to say you will endorse him?
It's safe to say there's a really good chance I will endorse him. Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of any announcements he has coming up.
Okay. My next question for you, you mentioned craziness that's out there, political division. I was surprised to hear that Senator Romney is spending thousands of dollars in security to protect his family. Are you seeing similar things like that? And what does that say about our country, the state of our country right now?
Well, it's so I'm not surprised. Sadly, I wished I could say that I was surprised, but I'm not. It is sad that we're seeing so many people having to go, through these terrible trials of people attacking them. We had an expert just last week come and meet with us. She's really incredible. She studies political violence. She studies failing democracies over time and throughout history and other countries. Rachel Kleinfeld is her name, and she talked about the rise in political violence in our country. It was astounding to me that from 2016 to 2021, so over a 5-year period, threats against member of Congress increased tenfold. I want to say that again. Threats against members of Congress increased tenfold over the course of 5 years. threats against judges doubled over that same time period, and we've seen a significant increase in threats against local officials as well. I've seen an increase in threats against me and my family, and so it's a terrible tragedy that we're in. And I share that because I want to wake Americans up. I want to wake Utahns up. This researcher and her research tells us that we are checking every box towards a failed democracy, towards complete collapse of our democratic republic, our institutions, if we continue down this path. And a rise in political violence is one of those check marks. And I'm not being facetious here. Like the craziness of what is happening in our country, the way we hate each other on social media, the way we attack each other constantly, the way we're treating our neighbors and people that we disagree with, will lead to civil war. That's where we are headed. That's not me. That's the experts telling us that this is the direction we are going as a country. If we don't stop it, if we don't pull our heads out, if we don't get it right and start to realize we can't treat each other like this when we disagree. There are better ways to do this. We have over 250 years as a country of good examples of how to disagree without hating each other, absent 1860s, right? But that's where we're headed. And so I use this as an opportunity to say we should not have members of Congress having to pay $5,000 a month to protect their families. Like, that's because each of us has a role to play. You can't play with matches and not expect to have a fire. You can't post stuff on social media, always attacking other people, tearing people down, trying to destroy our country. Every one of us is responsible on the right and the left, and I take responsibility for it as well.
One of the stories in the news this week has been the reports of Tim Ballard, who's resigned from his child rescue organization, The Sound of Freedom. Now there are allegations of sexual misconduct with women in the organization, which he has denied. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has gone as far as to distance itself from this. And what do you make of this situation?
Well, I don't know Tim Ballard. I've met him once that I can remember in an airport as I was walking through, and child trafficking is a problem in our country, our world today. It's something that we should take very seriously, and I'm grateful that there are groups and people who do take it very seriously, and I consider myself someone who takes it seriously. And yet again, I also believe that people are innocent until proven guilty. People should be afforded their day in court. This is very troubling for sure, and I think it's interesting. So OUR basically fired him several months ago, and there was very little reporting about that. There was some reporting, and I remember thinking, gosh, that's strange. Why would the group that he formed, it's his life, it's his the face, he's the face of the organization. How is it that they would fire him and he had to go start another organization? And I thought there must be something out there. And so then obviously when that church statement came out, I was very surprised. And that's not something that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does regularly. And there were a lot of allegations, including from him even yesterday, that wasn't a real statement from the church, that it must have come from a rogue church employee, that it didn't go through the normal vetting process. And so, I heard that as well. And so we reached out to the church to confirm that it was true and legitimate, and that it had gone through the regular processes, and the church stands by it, and they did confirm that to us as well. And so that again, it's very troubling. I hope it's not true. I hope those allegations of sexual misconduct are not true. But if they are true, then that's trafficking itself, and that's just so deeply disturbing and evil. Again, if they're true. So I guess time will tell as we get more information on those things. But I know there are really good people that support those causes, and I hope that with any organization, people will be very careful about where they put their money and their good names behind, and do their best to vet them as much as they can.
Yeah, you mentioned the importance of organizations like this. It must be kind of discouraging to see that they get a bad name when they're trying to rescue children.
Yeah, that's the part. I mean, this could really hurt good organizations that are doing great work out there, trying to protect children, and that's certainly what we want. What we try to do as a state, we care deeply about protecting our kids, and I think the legislation that you've seen passed and our commitment to stopping trafficking any way we can has been very well documented.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with your calls and questions. Number to call 801-575-8255. You can also text us at 57500.
Found your dream house but not your dream rate? Make your purchase with a home loan from Cypress Credit Union. Refinance within 12 months if rates drop, and we'll take care of the refinancing fees. Our team of local home loan experts is here to help you on every step of your home buying journey. Click the ad for more information.
Cypress Credit Union, your future is our future.
Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender, NMLS number 666254.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
They say you slow down as you get older, and it's true. But taking life a little slower here at Summit Vista has been incredibly rewarding. At my age, I know what I like, and it's all here. They call this a life plan community, and I'm liking the concept. I've always been a practical person, and now it's time to treat myself. At Summit Vista, I have a beautiful apartment. It's spacious and contemporary. It feels like me. I have all the independence I want, no more maintenance headaches, no more days spent cleaning. I eat delicious meals with my friends. The staff here feels like family. The socializing and amenities are endless. Frankly, anyone who says luxury living is overrated hasn't been to Summit Vista. I've rebooted my life, and I'm revisiting my younger self with the wisdom of an older woman. And I gotta tell you, feels pretty cool.
Experience retirement living at the top. Visit summitvista.com today.
Home is your sanctuary, or is it? If you're tired of yard work, too much space to clean over multiple levels, listen up. Start enjoying home a little more with Nielsen Homes' newest single-level townhomes. Move-in ready without the thought of tedious yard work and close to all the things you love and enjoy. Nielsen Homes offers spacious single-level open floor plans without stairs or yard work and a lower 5.5% interest rate. Nielsen Homes has been building homes across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years. They understand all stages of life and build homes to accommodate the things you need. Pair it with things you love. See their newest single-level living community in Davis and Weber County, close to golf, pickleball, and more. It's low-maintenance luxury single-level living. No stairs, no more lawnmowers, no yard work, no waiting, and no high interest rates. Visit Nielsen Homes Communities at nielsenhomes.com. Call 385-389-1160. Online at nilsonhomes.com.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-330-2929. That's 800-330-2929. 800-330-2929.
Get your questions answered by Governor Spencer Cox. Call 801-575-8255 to join Let Me Speak to the Governor on KSL News Radio.
Thank you for joining us for Let Me Speak to the Governor. I'm Maria Chaleos, along with Utah Governor Spencer Cox, taking your calls. Again, 801-575-8255. You can also text us at 57500. Kim is on the line from Alpine. Good afternoon, Kim. What was your question? Kim, you'll have to turn down your radio as well. We're hearing background noise.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, my question is, this last Governor's Day parade, they didn't have the troops march in front of the governor, and I understand the governor inspected the troops. And rumor has it that Governor's Day is going to be done away with. Is that correct? And if so, why?
Kim, thank you so much for the question. So I appreciate that. So for those listening who may not know, just about every year we have what's called Governor's Day, and that's where the National Guard troops assemble together, and the governor has an opportunity to review the troops. They usually march in front of the governor, although that doesn't happen every year either. And as the commander in chief, it's an honor and certainly a duty that I take very seriously. We have the best National Guard anywhere in the country. We are renowned throughout the country as having just the very best, the Army National Guard and the Air National Guard on both sides of that. We do have a new general, General Boyack, who is the adjutant general of the troops here that I appointed a few weeks ago. Wonderful human being, comes from the air side, and so we will always review what we're doing to see what makes sense. And I've given it up to him and his team to review what they think of Governor's Day and how they would like to see that proceed in the future. I did drive around to inspect the troops this year, which Governor Herbert did several times as well, and past governors have done. Sometimes we have the troops march in front of us. Sometimes we drive around and inspect the troops. The question about the future of this will remain in their hands. We will do something. I will always do something with our National Guard troops every year. There's a question about the time it takes away from training and the expense of it, and I understand that as well. And so we'll look at different things. Is that something we want to do every year? Could we do it every other year? And maybe I would go as the governor to visit all of our troops in different parts of the state. So instead of having one Governor's Day at Camp Williams, what if we had 5 different ones and I went around to use? So I went to southern Utah, I went to central Utah, I went to eastern Utah, went to northern Utah, instead of having everybody come and have an opportunity for more people to participate and their families to participate. So one way or another, if there are changes, we will be spending more time together, not less. And they may come back and say, let's just keep it the way it is. So nothing's been decided yet, but we would love your input, and I appreciate the question.
Next listener, Governor, is asking, has the state looked into bringing the lottery to Utah and the benefits that it would add to the state?
So we have looked at that. This is something that comes up virtually every year, states that have a lottery and some of us that don't. I don't see any real push from the legislature or otherwise for a lottery. I always said that lotteries are a tax on people who are bad at math, and it tends to hurt those who can least afford it, and sadly, that's the case when you look at the outcomes in other states. Sure, it's a way to tax people and to get a lot of money to do some other things, but it's kind of a backwards way to tax people, and not something I'm in favor of. I don't love lotteries. Again, I think they hurt the most vulnerable, and so I'm opposed to a lottery. But there's nothing that would stop future legislators and future governors from considering it.
Doug is on the line in Salt Lake City. Doug, what was your question?
So thank you for taking my call, Governor. My question for you is there a way we can change the vehicle registration to every 2 years? Because you only have to have your emissions done every 2 years. So we could save money by not having to register our vehicles as much. I know it would still cost the same, but maybe it would save on, time and everything else. I personally hate registering my car every year, and I just wish I could do it every 2 years and be done.
Doug, that's interesting. No one's ever asked me that question. I assume, it's just, and I've never thought about it just because it's kind of the way it's always been done. We did change auto inspections a couple years ago, but the registration piece I don't think has ever come up. And I'm wondering if there are some other states that do that. I would love to look at their program and think about it, get a little more information. I agree. I hate registering my vehicles too. In fact, we often forget, and it's like, oh, where do we put the registration? Fortunately, we can do it online. We've tried to make it simpler for people so that they can do that, but then you have to put the sticker on, and it's a perfectly legitimate question. And Doug, I don't have a great answer, but it's certainly one I'm willing to think about, and would love to do a little more research on that one. And I appreciate you piking my interest.
All right, John is now on the line in Ogden. And John, what was your question?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Governor. When we passed Proposition 2, we passed for medical cannabis patients to cultivate it, and now the state legislature changed that to give a monopoly to these dispensaries with no regulation on product and no regulation on price, and they are robbing us to where it's becoming unaffordable. Even for me, that makes $150,000 a year, and I'm about to go back on painkillers because I cannot afford the prescription from these dispensaries, and the price that they are charging for low grade quality is becoming ridiculous. And since we did vote it in, and the state legislature just took lobby money and allowed the dispensaries to have a total almost a monopoly on it, to where they can make whatever they want and charge whatever they want, doesn't matter anything. And it's really hurting us out here. And I mean, I'm going to have to go back on painkillers soon, because it's either $50 a month for painkillers or $800 to $1,000 a month at the dispensary, because it's so low grade and low quality.
John, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. So I don't see the legislature making a change anytime soon to allow for homegrown. So I think it's important to remember that that cannabis is technically still illegal in the United States, and that's something that Congress still needs to work on, and even medical cannabis. And so I'm hoping that they will. We've pushed them to do something on that. So home growing, of course, would make it challenging for the state to eliminate the black market. It would be impossible for law enforcement to distinguish between legal and illegal products, and that's very, very difficult to do. Now, I understand your concern, and the current situation in the state of Utah, the Department of Agriculture and Food and the Utah Division of Purchasing, they've selected 8 companies to be medical cannabis cultivators in Utah, and they're in different locations. We have a grower in Box Elder, Sanpete, Sevier, Tooele, Utah, and Weber counties. There are no additional licenses that are being offered right now, but what I can tell you is every year the legislature has been making changes to the program, and so if it is becoming too expensive, I think that's something that should be brought before the legislature, and a conversation that we can have if we need to add additional growers, to add a little competition to bring down the price, so that it's not technically a monopoly, because we do have these 8 different providers, but it's certainly something that we should look at. It is supposed to be an alternative to the painkillers that you mentioned, and so we will reevaluate the program every year, and I suspect you'll see more changes this year.
Fair to say it's a work in progress.
Definitely a work in progress.
Because
yes.
It's not something that the state has done before.
Well, no, it's not. And again, it's really hard, because with the federal government still having it, the way they have it listed as a Schedule I drug makes it really difficult. It makes the banking piece of it difficult. It's causing all kinds of problems when most states do now have some sort of legal form of marijuana. Again, not recreationally here, but medical marijuana. And so tried to make it as much like a traditional medication as possible is really important, and we're getting there, but we're not perfect yet.
All right, we're going to take a break for the bottom of the hour news. Number to call with your questions, 801-575-8255. Text us at 57500.
Boyd Matheson helps you to think about the news differently.
Everyone's important. Everyone has a crucial role to play, but there's a time to move on.
Join an elevated conversation. Inside Sources from 1 to 3. Then Jeff Kaplan and his Minute of News on the drive home on KSL News Radio.
At Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital, we made a bold promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Join us in realizing our vision for the future of pediatric care. So together, we can expand primary children's impact and ensure every child has access to the right care at the right place at the right time. For a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Help us continue to do so for the next 100 years. To get involved, visit primarypromise.org.
1231 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Home sales are at their lowest level since 2011. And that has leading economists with mortgage giant Fannie Mae predicting we're in for a recession next year. KSL News Radio's Heather Kelly has more.
Not only are home sales falling due to higher interest rates, but people using mortgages to buy that new home are also dropping. That's according to Fannie Mae's latest economic and housing commentary. Based on this data, economists say we could be in for a mild recession in 2024.
The report also says the amount people are charging on their credit cards is starting to drop. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Democratic leader in the U.S. House of Representatives says Republicans are imploding as the deadline approaches for a federal government shutdown. Hakeem Jeffries was talking about resistance to a funding deal coming from right-wing members of the GOP.
I'm not saying they all have to like each other, but we should be able to figure out a way to get the business of the American people done.
Republicans on the far right have been reluctant to support more funding for the war in Ukraine, and they want to cut domestic programs as well. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 237 points on the day right now. The NASDAQ is down 188. And our KSL weather looks like more rain ahead. That's next. KSL News Time, 12:32.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, Dee and I had the chance to go to Hale Center Theater to see Around the World in 80 Days. What an amazing stage production that is. We're all familiar with the story, but oh my goodness, when they're in India and we're watching them riding an elephant, and of course the aerial artistry at Hale Center Theater, just superb and such a great part of this story. There's drama, there's pageantry. We even have a little melodrama portion when Fogg and company are touring the good old USA. Some of the greatest slow-mo acting I have ever seen in that scene. You're going to love Around the World in 80 Days. And your tickets are waiting for you right now at hct.org. And don't forget, Catch Me If You Can. That's on the other stage. Christmas Carol is just around the corner. And of course, Elf the Musical is coming up. It's all waiting at Hale Center Theater. Go to hct.org.
Imagine how inconvenient your life would be without power. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, and no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have the power when you need it most. Generac generators automatically provide backup after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Schedule a free quote today with Genco Generators, your premier Generac service dealer in Utah. Call 801-295-0872 or online at gencogenerators.net.
Swing a loop for excitement at Beatty Days 2023, Friday, October 27th through the 30th. It's a weekend of fun with Old West shootouts, the ICS Chili Cook-Off, 2K 5K race, live music, bed races, a desert art show, classic car show, a cornhole toss, model railroads, vendors, and contests for everyone. Just 95 miles from Las Vegas. It's Beatty Days, October 27th through the 30th. Discover the Old West at its best. Visit BeattyNevada.org.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
Emergency crews on the scene of a crash with injuries in Weber County. This is southbound Wall Avenue at 14th Street in Ogden. It has been blocking a couple of left lanes of travel. Scoot over to the right to get by single file, but expect some backups. If you're on any of the Valley freeways, you are good to go. Your one-tank trip starts in Cedar City, Parowan, and Bryan Head. Scenic byways, fabulous fall colors, live theater, mountain biking, chairlift rides, ATVing, vibrant art, food, and downtown. Visit cedarcity.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, a cold front bringing showers and thunderstorms to the Wasatch Front today, while the snow level drops to about 8,000 feet. Today's high 69, partly cloudy tomorrow with a continued chance of rain. 63, mostly cloudy right now. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Governor Spencer Cox is taking your questions right now. Call 801-575-8255 or text him at 57500. This is Let Me Speak to the Governor on KSL News Radio.
Thank you so much for joining us for Let Me Speak to the Governor. I'm Maria Chaleos, along with Utah Governor Spencer Cox, who is very generous with his time once a month, comes and spends an hour with us answering your questions. Back to our phone lines. David is in Pleasant Grove. David, good afternoon. What is your question?
Hey, Governor, do you think you could change your monthly governor's press conference so that the PBS people don't get to decide who the reporters are? Maybe mix it up a little, have a random drawing instead of allowing them to reward their friends, punish their appointment or opponents, and also maybe have one or two regular citizen journalists. Do you think that would be possible?
Well, thank you, David. So we don't have a lot of control over the PBS news conference. I do know that they mix it up. There are several reporters there from all kinds of different institutions, and so I haven't gotten a complaint. So this is a new one and an interesting one. And of course, I love taking questions from citizens, and that's exactly what we're doing today. So I'm glad you got to ask your question, and I think we'll keep doing this. I do an hour with reporters. I think we had, maybe 10 reporters there today from all different places. We had them from Southern Utah remotely. We had a student journalist there as well today. We had Latino reporters there. We had a really broad swath of reporters there, and then of course an hour of citizens asking questions, and we take questions. We routinely do online town halls as well. So we're trying everything we can to get as many questions and answer as many questions as we can, and hopefully get as much access as we can.
And David, we would appreciate your honesty as well when you're telling our screener what your question is. David, had intended to ask about what you think about the bid for the Olympics, Governor. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the question that we thought he was going to ask.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a huge fan of our Olympic bid. I think we've been incredibly supportive. It's amazing. So in order to make an Olympic bid, you have to do polling and several rounds of polling over the course of years to see what kind of support there is for the Olympics. And Utah is phenomenally supportive of the Olympics. In fact, our numbers are higher than any other country out there. Well over 80% of Utahns are supportive of getting the Olympics back. The U.S. Olympic Planning Committee has endorsed our bid for the Olympics. We feel very confident that we will be getting either the 2030 or the 2034 Olympics. So I won't be in this office anymore, and you may still be reporting, Maria, when
I don't think so, Governor.
You were here for the last one.
I enjoyed the last one.
It was great. And Utah is just seen as such a special place to hold these major events. We led the world in volunteerism during the last Olympics, and it left such a great impression on the Olympic community all over the world. Really changed Utah, I think, in very positive ways. And so we're looking forward for the opportunity to host it again in a few years.
All right, back to our phone lines. James is in Provo. Good afternoon, James.
Hi, Maria, and hi, Governor. Anyhow, you touched on the subject a little bit earlier in the top of the broadcast. It's a possibility of age limits or term limits for not only president, but state officials such as governor and senator. I'm just wondering, I'm proud of Senator Mitt Romney for saying he would voluntarily step aside on his own terms, but we have candidates, incumbents, like Senator Mitch McConnell, who freezes up and won't go on their own. Does the party kind of owe it to an infirm candidate to come to him and say, hey, we like you, but for your own good, you really need to step aside?
James, it's great to hear from you again, and thank you for the question. It's what I have thought a lot about, and I don't know that there's any really great answer when it comes to this. Of course, age is more of a kind of a state of mind than just an actual number. There are certainly people in their 70s and 80s who are much more cognizant than even sometimes people in their 50s and 60s, and so it's different for every person. It may be of interest to you. I don't know if a lot of people know this, Maria, but we do currently have an age limit on our state Supreme Court. We're one of the rare examples of that. It's 75 years, so you cannot serve. The founders of our state decided that people who were making those kind of decisions, really important legal decisions, technical decisions, that we should put an age limit of 75. And so again, I think as citizens, we're the best judge of that. And in a system that was working the right way, we would be the the self-limiters. We would be the ones saying, hey, we're not going to vote for people who are clearly in cognitive decline and that maybe shouldn't be running a country, well into their 80s and 90s or whatever that looks like. But we haven't shown that we're very good at that. And so I don't know exactly, James, what the best answer is. Obviously, it would take a change to the United States Constitution, and it would probably take something really terrible happening where there is such a serious decline that someone does something that puts our nation in serious harm's way. I hope we don't have something like that over the next couple of years, but it's certainly in play.
James, thanks so much for your question. Brent is on the line in Salt Lake City. Brent, what was your question?
Yes, Governor, thank you for taking my call. Yeah, I'm still concerned about our highways. Bangor Highway is horrible, going over 201. Coming from the airport on Bangor is just embarrassing. Just the half-patch job that our Department of Transportation is doing, let alone trying to catch I-80 from Bangor Highway. You're dodging potholes. This has been for months and months, and I have not seen any road work out there maintaining our main highway. And then you got road signs that say road damage ahead, 3200 west and 201. Well, that is a very dangerous area, and they haven't done anything with that. And I'm just concerned because I've talked to you several times. I go over these in a semi, and it just throws you around.
Thank you, Brent. Thanks for the feedback. This is really important. I'm making notes of those as you're talking, so that I have them down. We obviously keeping our roads in good shape is one of our top priorities, and we have UDOT maintenance crews that are constantly working on our roads. But you've given me some locations where we can where I can point them to. We do have a project over the next several weekends to repair pavement on 3 bridges on the I-215 West Belt near the airport, and so I'm hoping that you'll notice that is moving forward. And we did have some more challenges this year because of the extreme weather over the winter, and that led to more potholes than we would normally have and normally budget for. So it's something that they are aware of and are working in different places. So, and I just want to remind people, if you do see a pothole that is causing problems, let us know about it. If you go to the UDOT Click and Fix app, you can let us know directly. But I've got my notes, and we'll forward those along and get some people out there to get those fixed. I really appreciate the follow-up, Brent. Thank you.
Thanks for your call, Brent. Next listener is asking about the impending government shutdown. First of all, let me ask, Governor, do you think there's going to be a shutdown?
Yeah, I do. Sadly, I wish I could say no, but my faith in Congress's ability to do the right thing and the smart thing is waning a little bit. Sadly, this is the one thing that Congress is supposed to do, and honestly, I mean, it's something they haven't done for I don't know, 12 or 13 years, a true budget process where they approve a budget the way that every state does, the way that our state does every year. Look, it's not rocket science. It's just a willingness to govern. And we have to pass a budget every year in the state of Utah. And what's interesting is, even though we've never had to shut down state government because of a budget impasse, just to be safe, because we so care about the people of Utah not having to go through what we're about to go through as a country, that we actually pass a budget. Most people don't know this. We pass a budget the first or second week of the legislative session. Now, it's almost identical to last year's budget. And the reason we do that is just in case there is an impasse, just in case we can't, for some reason, something happens and we don't get a budget passed, we will have already passed last year's budget just to keep things going until we can figure it out. Now, again, we never have to use that because then we pass a final budget, usually on the last night of the legislative session, that incorporates all of the changes of the year, everything that we've worked on for 45 days. That's how you should run a state, and that's how you should run a country. Now, everything we're seeing is pointing to that there will be a shutdown. Sadly, it's also pointing towards the possibility of it being a long shutdown. I hope that's not the case, but it very well could with such divided government. And the last time we saw a lengthy shutdown was 2013. It was almost exactly 10 years ago. I'd just been made lieutenant governor. In fact, it was my first week as lieutenant governor, and we were scrambling to try to keep our national parks open and see what we could do that way. We looked back. It was 35 days that the federal government was closed back in 2013. So more than a month. Again, I'm hoping that's not the case because it will hurt a lot of people, but sadly, I fear we're headed that direction.
We're already going to keep the national parks open. That's a decision that was already made this past week.
We've been working with the legislature to keep our national parks open. We'll be working with the Department of Interior. The state will pay for that. We still haven't gotten reimbursed for the last time we did this. The federal government owes us more than $1 million, and that's the type of ridiculous partnership that we're dealing with right now.
Are there any other programs that you're looking at funding?
So right now, just that one. Again, we don't have the state budget to keep all the federal programs going. That's just not how it works. It's not how it's supposed to work. But this is one that could just decimate entire cities that are located around these parks, and that's why it's so important to their economy to keep it going. But sadly, a lot of individuals will be directly impacted because of the inability of Congress to do the job they were elected to do.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back with the final segment of Let Me Speak to the Governor. Number to call with your questions, 801-575-8255. You can text us at 57500.
The Cougars go 3-0.
Keaton throws, end zone! Caught for the touchdown!
And demonstrate they're ready.
Cougars have won it! And listen to the BYU fans in Fayetteville.
Saturday, the Cougars are on the road again for their Big 12 debut.
Rise and shout!
BYU, Kansas. Our extended pregame coverage starts at 9 with kickoff at 1:30 on Utah's legacy home for BYU football, KSL News Radio.
Hey, Derek Overstreet here from the New Millennium Group, financial advisors in Utah. You know, I've been helping people retire in the state of Utah for the last 20 years. The way we do that is we actually find out what is important to you. We create a step-by-step plan that takes into consideration your income, your debt, whether you want money from real estate, stock market, annuities, life insurance, whatever. If you want to deal with professionals, people that are fiduciaries and have a legal responsibility and obligation to do what's in your best interest, give my team a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Or go to my website, utahsfinancialplanner.com. If you'd like to retire 3 to 5 years before you thought it was possible, give my team a call right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370.
Join the Utah Symphony for the greatest classical hits from the 1700s to today. Tickets start at $21. Get yours today at utahsymphony.org.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Introducing Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Call the pros at Yes and take $50 off any heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical system repair over $200. Get fast relief and $50 off any repair from Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. The same great people providing the same great service that Utah has counted on for more than 45 years. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment.
Get your questions answered by Governor Spencer Cox. Call 801-575-8255 to join Let Me Speak to the Governor on KSL News Radio.
Thank you for joining us for Let Me Speak to the Governor, final segment of the show. We appreciate your calls and questions. We have quite a few people waiting at this point. Let's go back to the phone lines. Chad is in South Jordan. And good afternoon, Chad. What was your question?
Hi, Governor. Appreciate you taking my call. I just want to say thank you so much to everything that you and your wife do for foster parents and the foster care system. My wife and I recently became licensed foster parents. And as we went through the process, there was so much back and forth, manual forms, printing out, signing, emailing. It took us months. And I wonder if there's been any discussion around streamlining and going online and making some of that process easier and simpler.
Oh, Chad, thank you for to you and your wife for what you're doing. You're doing the real work, and I appreciate the question. Let me just take this opportunity to praise you, but also to let people know that foster parents are absolutely needed in Utah. Unfortunately, we have too many children that are subjected to abuse and neglect, and that are in desperate need of a home. And we're just, it's been incredible to work closely with foster parents and to just see the goodness of the people. Now, directly to your question. Obviously, there's some things that we have to do to make sure that our foster parents have been vetted. We want to ensure that we're placing children and youth in homes that are safe and offer an opportunity for them to thrive. All that being said, like I hate the government minutia and the backwards way that we do things. Sometimes we've tried to fix it at the DMV. We've done a really good job of that in some areas, but there's some other areas where we haven't yet. And it certainly sounds like this is one of those areas, Chad. So let me just say again, my commitment to you is that we will go back with our team, with our online teams, and see if we can't do something to streamline that process. We can still, again, we still have to go through all the paperwork and we still have to vet people, but if we could take the manual piece out of it, if we could just make it easier, I'm sure we would probably get more foster parents who are willing to go through that process, and it would save time and get it done quicker. So let's see if we can't automate that process a little better, and I'll take that as a to-do on my list to go back and get to work on it.
All right, Chad, thanks so much for your call. Jim is in Layton. And Jim, what was your question?
Oh, thanks for taking my call, Governor. My question is this. There are some major things going on in our country, as you know, and I'm just wondering what kind of powers do the governors have to be able to try and keep our federal government in check? I called in about a year ago relative to the Ukraine situation, and as I've looked at a lot of these things, I'm not sure if a lot of people know that President Reagan, when he and Gorbachev agreed to break up the Soviet Union, the United States promised that Ukraine would never join NATO as well as those other countries, because that puts Russia in jeopardy. We're right on their doorstep, very similar in the Cuban Missile Crisis. So it seems like we just have a government running loose and fast, and we're headed for World War III, and it seems like for a lot of people it's just business as usual. So is there anything that governors can do to actually try and stop the insanity?
Sure, Jim. Thank you for your question. I share concerns about overreach by the federal government. I will also say that Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev promised they took away they convinced Ukraine to give up their nuclear weapons with the promise that Russia would never invade Ukraine, and that's not going so well for the Ukrainians right now. It kind of sucks to be them when Russia is killing and kidnapping your children, your people, and your wives. So we can have the NATO discussion, but I'm really proud of our defense of the Ukrainian individuals. And I promise you with every part of my soul that if Ronald Reagan were alive today, this Ukraine question would not be a question. We would be supporting Ukraine, and we would be beating back the Russians, because that's what we did when we cared about democracy on the world stage. And I wish we lived in a country where everybody still cared as much about democracy as Ronald Reagan did. As your question when it comes to pushing back against the federal government, yes, we do bond together as states. We've probably sent, over a dozen letters in the past year as Republican governors pushing back on the federal government and coming together as governors to work against that. Just yesterday or day before yesterday, we sent a letter on immigration and the failure of the administration, the Biden administration, to secure the border and to give us the data that we need as governors, the people that are coming to our states that have been processed by the federal government. This is really easy stuff, and it's not happening. The way that we push back the most, though, is through the courts. That's the way our system is set up. That's how we maintain the federalism, that check and balance between the state and the federal government. We have sued the federal government several times, and we've been victorious. Again, we bond together as states. Attorney General Sean Reyes and other attorneys general working with governors, we get together, and then we file these lawsuits together because there is strength in numbers, and we've been incredibly successful in lots of different areas. We beat the administration in several court cases, some going all the way to the Supreme Court, some at just at the federal district level, and I think you'll see more of those as we move forward.
All right, Jim, thanks for your call. Donna is on the line in Mill Creek, and good afternoon, Donna. What was your question?
Yes, Governor Cox, thank you for taking my question. I have a major concern about, I live on Holly Drive, and there are cars that barrel down the street going quite fast, and it's a narrow side street, cars parked on both sides of the street. Is there something that can be done short of putting speed bumps or having law enforcement getting involved?
Well, Donna, thank you so much for that question. It is an important one and obviously a concern to you and the people in your neighborhood. So it sounds like this is a local road and not a state road. I would encourage you, and in fact, I will forward this on to the folks there in Mill Creek so that I'm sure they know right where Holly Drive is. And let's make sure that your city council and your mayor and representatives know about this, because they can do some things there, some what we call traffic calming techniques. Sometimes they do speed bumps. Sometimes they will have an officer that is positioned there during the times when people are speeding the most. Sometimes there's some signage changes that they can make differently. Lots of different things that they can do to slow people down and protect your neighborhood. And we're happy to forward that request on to the good people who serve you in Mill Creek.
Governor, the next listener is talking about speeding and aggressive driving on state roads, on the highways, and wondering what is being done about that.
Yeah, so this is a real concern. We've, as I talk to our troopers, our Highway Patrol, our Department of Public Safety, basically starting kind of mid-COVID over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a significant increase in reckless driving. So one of the numbers we look at are the number of people who are traveling over 100 miles per hour. Those are considered the most reckless. And that number has just shot up recently. People have, for whatever reason, have kind of lost their minds, and it's extremely dangerous. And so we're increasing our patrolling efforts to pull people over, to hold them accountable. Just trust me, guys. There's no reason to drive that fast. It will not end up well for you. And if you don't end up killing yourself or somebody else, you're going to pay a very large fine and risk losing your driver's license and your driving privileges. So it's something we're worried about. It's something we're actively engaged in, and would just encourage everybody listening to slow down, take it easy, and be safe.
It's terrifying in construction zones.
It
I don't
absolutely
know how those
is,
highway
yes.
workers do it without just looking over their shoulder every minute.
And we've all seen it, right? You're there, you're slowing down, and somebody just comes flying past you, and sadly, we've had too many people lose their lives because of reckless driving.
Governor, thank you again for being here every month answering questions. We never get to all of the questions, so many questions and so little time, but we appreciate you doing this.
Thank you so much, Maria.
Okay. And join us again next month for Let Me Speak to the Governor.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen at home on any smart speaker and in your car at 102.7